good morning. Welcome to a new episode of ETRetailCafe by ETRetail. To give you some energy rush today on a boring Monday morning, we are here with Rajat Agrawal, who is the CEO of Barista. Rajat, welcome to a new episode of ETRetailCafe.
Thank you. Good morning, Charu. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. So how does the week look ahead for you?
We're pretty much into season. Next week is Diwali. Pretty much hectic times for us. There is a lot of consumerism. There's a lot of buzz in the markets, and we're pretty equipped to look at creating a good season for us in this Diwali.
So Rajat, today we are not going to talk about your business. We are not going to talk about the strategies that you are planning for the big festive season. We want to know about your journey. How did retail started for you? I mean, you were a consultant before for a very long time, almost 10 years if I'm not wrong. So how did retail happen? What was the idea behind it? Thought process? Was it forced? Are you enjoying it or not? Oh, Scott, so many questions. Please start answering them.
So retail was always an unplanned activity for me, and the way it happened was that about, as you rightly said, about 10, 12 years of my initial career was with financial consulting firms like EY, Deloitte, and Grant Thornton. And post that, I look at joining industry as part of an M&A role. And as part of my M&A profile, we took over a few businesses, and Barista was part of that business. And gradually what happens is part of an M&A, that initial 12 to 18 months is a settle down period to really create an opportunity for the business you took over. And from the promoter office, I was given that charge to look at really controlling the asset for a certain period of time. So the way it happened that it was not a planned activity. I got engrossed in the business, and the way I got engrossed has been 8 years, and I've been running it now.
So 8 years you have been in different roles, CA by profession, different roles. What do you enjoy the most doing and why?
So, if I were to be honest about it, last 8 years, the most exciting part of this role was when the role kind of transformed from wearing a financial hat and looking at business, and then looking at really driving a business. Because what happens in a consultancy, that you're always giving advices, right? You're not executing it. This is the first time in my career of last 5-6 years I've been executed on the advices, and also looking at creating strategic decisions to grow business. So the last 7-8 years, I think the most interesting piece in terms of, if I were to personally touch upon till the 7-8 years of retail career I have spent, the last 3-4 years when I was really being on the stores, looking at creating an opportunity and creating newer avenues of business, I think that was the most important strategic initiatives we have done, and that was something which was a good learning, and I was really engrossed in the business. And I think that was the most encouraging period and the most exciting period in my 7-8 years of journey with Barista. Not that today the excitement is any lower, but yes, the roles and responsibilities have changed. There's a large team to execute things. Initially, when you took over the business, there was a lot of hand-holding which you had to do. You have to get involved in each and every process. But over the 7-8 years, you build those processes now, and now it's more to do with actually running with a steady ship and creating opportunities and growing business.
But when you joined Barista initially, I mean, the cafe culture was picking up that point of time. So adrenaline rush must be there. Something is not there, and a handful of brands were there, which were the competition. But now a lot of foreign players are also entering. So was that time exciting, or is this time more exciting?
I think when you are running an active business, the journey of the business itself is very exciting. So to be honest, when we took over the business, really to understand the business, because I don't have any experience or a background retail experience. When I started the journey, I learned it all by doing myself, and that's where I really believe when I guide my people, I say learn by doing, and that is something which is my go-to mantra for anything. The excitement to learn things and then execute and put those in shape as part of your strategy is something which has worked well for me in the last 7-8 years, and that's how I have grown as a professional as well in terms of learning new things, and that excitement continues even today. Even today, there is an excitement to do newer things, looking at newer ideas. In 2014, when we took over the business from Lavazza, coffee culture was there, but yes, the competition was far lesser. However, if I were to look at from the current precedence perspective, the market sizing itself has grown, right? Currently today, the market itself is about 4,000 to 5,000 odd CR market in terms of cafe chain industry, which was about 1,000 to 2,000 CR at that time. So the market sizing has grown, and therefore there is a lot of space now for the other players who also to capture the market. But we have done a fair job in terms of our growth strategy. When we took over the business, about 150 odd stores, today we are actually moving towards closing on to 400 and then looking at growing beyond to 500. So it's definitely a growth strategy which we have worked upon, which we have executed, and it is now being visible at the storefront as well.
So when you started, coffee culture was a very metro and tier one city kind of a thing. So how has it penetrated into tier two and beyond now?
Last 4 5 years, the way the country macroeconomics have changed, like if you were to look at from an infrastructure development, technology adaptation, the people demographic, and the kind of way the retail acceptance is happening at the tier 2, tier 3 cities, there is a lot of evolution which has happened. I would say post COVID, the scenario has completely changed. There is so much of demand now in tier 2, tier 3 to consume branded products, and they're ready to pay a price for that. Not that they're not ready to, or they're not worthy enough to pay a price. So today they are willing to pay a price. There's a definitive consumer shift in terms of tier 2, tier 3 people really adapting to newer opportunities and engaging with the brands. And we as a brand have seen a rapid level of growth. Today we operate in almost 120 cities, which itself, if I were to talk about 7, 8 metros, there is a large penetration which we have done as a brand, and we see the kind of opportunity we have created, the kind of business yields we have been able to create in non-metros has been tremendous. And I see that the way next 20, next 2 decades are surely for tier 2, tier 3.
Okay, so you have seen the consumer behavior evolving slowly and gradually. What is one thing that actually pushes you seeing the consumer behavior? Yes, you have to do this thing for them.
See, today, if you were to be an active retail player, or if you were to be as a brand operating retail assets, you have to be very mindful of what the consumer needs are, right? You really can't detach yourself and try to work upon in a silo. You need to look at what the consumer trends are, what other players are doing, what is competition up to, what are the international opportunities which are there in the market to grab. So there is a definitive structure which we have put together in terms of really ideation. There's a detailed ideation team, there is an NPD team, there is a R&D team, so various opportunities which work upon. And R&D is just not product specific today, right? Today, if you were to go to a coffee shop, it's about the experience, right? It's not only about what product you are serving. It's not about great cup of coffee today. It's about the entire mood board in terms of space planning, in terms of people interacting at the store, in terms of the product which is being dispensed at the store. So it's a complete 360-degree perspective which you work around. And that's what we have been able to successfully do, which is why there has been a rampage growth which we have seen, and we have been improving. So what we did in 2015, 16, 17, today what we are trying to do and the kind of stores we are which are coming up and going live are very different to what we did. So there is a lot of learning which we have been able to accumulate over the period, and we have been able to implement and execute that very well.
So how have your stores evolved? You said your stores have evolved over the period of time. How have they evolved?
See, stores from a macroeconomics perspective, initially there was a certain mood board or theme which we were adapting basis what we got in disguise from Lavazza. Now there is a complete 360-degree improvement in terms of space planning. Because if you were to understand a cafe today, about 10 years back, it was only social active place, right? Today, it is more to do with people working from cafe. There are a lot of informal formal meetings happening at the store. So you have to design your cafe aesthetics in a way that all the consumer types really become adaptive to that kind of environment, to sit for long hours and spend time in your cafe. Because today, it's not unlike about 10 years back, there was no competition, right? You were the only guys running and managing the show. Now there are about 10 odd brands which are actually competing for a large share of business, right? So you have to be very active in terms of space planning, in terms of really the day part food planning, the kind of beverages which the Gen Z wants today. So all that is something which we've been able to work around. And that is something which is showcased in terms of the kind of work we have done on ground.
So what does people come to your cafe for? I mean, barista for? I mean, are they coming for the coffee, or are they coming from the tidbits or the food that you serve along?
See, now if I were to look at coffee shops today, if you were to kind of do a bit of deep dive in the market, India is a very food-centric place still, right? So in India, the coffee shops which are doing well are largely where you have a lot of food opportunity, right? And that's where the macroeconomics and the store level economic works if you're able to sell food. Because I know for sure if the consumer is coming, he's having a beverage, right? For me to really stand out in the market is whether my food is selling or not. So that is a definitive strategy which we work around as a brand in terms of creating that food opportunity as a big foray. in terms of in our team discussions, in terms of our educating our team, in terms of training our manpower to sell more and more food. Food opportunity also has kind of been only in the initially about 8-10 years back when we took over the business, and historically as well, it was only considered to be like a sandwich or a bagel kind of market with coffee, right? Today there are so much of new innovations which have happened. Today you are looking at creating types of bread, artisan breads, focaccia, baguette, bagels, all kind of breads are getting integrated as part of the menu. The kind of fillings which we are doing is again very innovative, all matched to what the Western style is. In India, still you have to be very adapted to the local palate, which we have been able to adapt well, right? You can't really only sell a smoked chicken, which is one of the hot sellers for us. But again, you have a chicken tikka and a paneer tikka, which complements the overall food portfolio. Because, as I said, our reach is very comprehensive. We are not only restricted to metros. When I am going to tier 2, tier 3, they also have to relate to what you are selling, and we have been able to do that successfully, and which has helped us to really sustain the kind of momentum and the growth we have noticed in the recent 3 to 4 years, even post-COVID and during COVID.
So these learnings, have you learned while being on the job, or there were some learnings from your consulting career also which helped you grow the brand further?
See, consulting really helps you be more defined in terms of your approach, right? And that is something which really helps your DNA in terms of taking more informed decisions. Consulting is always based on data sets, right? Consulting is not open-ended, right? So I have been a person where every decision which we take in the organization, and that's how I train and educate my team as well, that it has to be backed by data. It can't be just a thought which you wake up and then you implement. There may be 10-15% decisions which we also do, which are more random and try to implement in the market basis what competition is doing. But at least 85% of the decisions we make sure are more comprehensive in approach, in terms of there has to be a detailed study of about whatever we do. Like for example, even a small price hike has to be studied. There has to be consumer mapping, there has to be competition mapping, there has to be a macroeconomic mapping, and inflation, cost pressures, all that has to be evaluated before you were to even take a price hike. And that is something which we have been able to do, to put a lot of structure in terms of, because that is something which I've been taught in the last 10 years, initial 10 years of my career, to look at making more structured and informed decisions. And that is something which has really helped me to kind of implement that structure in this organization as well, which is what is helping us to really be in foray with all the competition which is coming in.
So your past learnings are actually helping you build this brand for the future. Which are the 3 qualities that you are imbibing in the employees of Barista, which can help them grow as CEOs or maybe in the larger roles going ahead?
Whenever I have my senior team discussions, and even I kind of, my style of working is to really interact even with the last mile, right? And you have to really guide them basis the level they are, right? A macroeconomic view of what you have to give your manager versus a store team has to be very different. But yes, if I were to talk about 3 principles, one is that you have to really be honest about what you're doing. You have to be committed, and more importantly, you have to look at creating an opportunity and learn things by doing, right? You just can't be wait and watch, right? Wait and watch is something, if you were to look at that, it will happen. You have to make it happen. I think make it happen is something with an approach, is something which we work around, and that is something which is a very important agenda for me with my team whenever there are discussions, even with the last mile or with the mid management, that we have to make it happen. And that's how the commitment has to come in, and you have to be honest about what you're doing.
True. Honesty, I mean, it helps you win everywhere. So one more thing I want to know from you, technology has started playing a very major role in retail these days. How has it helped Barista transform, and how easy was it for you from coming from a consulting career and then running a cafe chain? So how was it different adapting the technology and taking the things ahead?
See, even in consulting, if you were to look at the processes, and these are all global organizations which have worked around. So technology is epicenter of some of these organizations, right? Really, you have to, even a training module today in about 10 years back also was online, right? Which was not the case in industry. So they are anyway the industry first kind of adaptation which happen in consulting. So when you come from that school of thought, you are anyways a step ahead in terms of technology adaptations. The way the India is maturing, there are 3 things which is helping India to really stay ahead with other competition countries, which is technology, third is infrastructure, and fourth is people demographic, right? And technology, as you rightly said, even in retail, it's an important aspect of us to run our day-to-day business, because today the consumer is very glued on to the new age technology. We have implemented a lot of things like digital ordering. We were the first ones in the industry to really create a digital ordering platform. We are soon going to launch a loyalty solution that again is something which will help us to kind of be close knitted with our consumers and to create that opportunity to them to become more loyalists than what they are. Third, that we have been able to kind of really create opportunities in terms of really looking at our CRM adaptations very well, in terms of really studying the data and then implementing those throughputs, what to offer, when to offer, what day part is the consumer consuming some of the products which they are consuming, when are they walking in, are they regulars, are they not. So some of these technology adaptations have helped us to be more glued on to the data which we are collecting on a day-to-day, because there's a huge lot of data which we collect on a day-to-day basis, and the data, if not churned well, is only a part of data, right? You have to make it informative, and that is something which the marketing team does on a day-to-day basis in terms of really creating more avenues to use that data well. And we have been able to leverage some of these data structures well to bring back on consumers, even on social education, digital assets, really creating reach at a consumer level, and that is something that has helped us as an organization.
Have you ever thought, what if with generative AI and chat GPTs of the world coming into this picture, do you ever feel that technology might take away your job? If yes, then what will you do?
See, I think so. Some of these new initiatives which are coming in, still you need to have what technology cannot do themselves is to kind of think on their own, right? You have to still create new and newer opportunities, and for that you need skill sets, right? So there may be at a mass scale, there may be a certain level of jobs which can be done by AI, by chat GPT adaptation. But yes, if I were to look at a strategic level, right, a strategic business. So as I said, capturing the data and making more informative can be used by technology, right? But to somebody to read that data and implement, the implementation has to be still dependent on the leadership teams, and that's where I see that there is a big opportunity for us to really kind of use that data well and leverage that data to create more opportunities.
Your job is safe.
Good job.
So, Rajat, tell me one more thing. There might be some challenges that you might be facing while building Barista for the future. What are those challenges that you are facing, and how are you coping up with those challenges?
See, as I said, that the industry itself is growing. The cafe culture is becoming big in India. We are after water, we're the second largest beverage which is consumed worldwide. India, chai anyways precedes the coffee culture, but slowly and steadily there is a big opportunity which is getting created. In India, cafe or coffee as a culture is about $2 billion industry, and only 10% or 15% of that is out of home, right? So there's a very big opportunity to be leveraged upon, right? There's a big disconnect. Still, the 80% of the consumption is happening in-house, which is the instant premixes, etc., which is evolving and changing over the period. And I see that there's a big delta. So not only that 2 billion is increasing, the percentage of cafe in that segment is increasing at a rapid pace. There is definitive competition, but yes, it helps you to be on your toes. As I rightly said, that there is a lot of consumer insight which we get. We do a lot of competition mapping to understand what they are doing, and the idea is to kind of be ahead of some of the competition which is in there, to be relevant in the industry, and that's what we are working towards.
So, what vision do you see for Barista going ahead?
So we're currently about 390 odd stores operating with about 120 cities. The way our pipeline looks at, we'll be close about 500 odd stores in the next 18 to 24 months. So that is a definitive vision, and the way the momentum is, maybe much more than that. And the idea is to build a robust infrastructure. We have worked upon in a detailed way in terms of creating a backend infrastructure, not just technology front, but also on the other infrastructure which is required to create those opportunities and to sustain, because at the end of the day, whatever growth you are doing should be sustainable. Today, if you were to look at investor set, you have to build profitable business. Gone are the days where you look at creating business opportunities which are more delta in an Excel. Today, you have to kind of prove that merit. Anything which you are doing has to be sustainable and worthy of a value which you get. And that is something we have been doing. We are a profitable organization, and not lot many in this zone are profitable still. So that again is something which is a testimony to the hard work we have done, and we want to kind of carry the good work which we have done in the past in the future years as well.
Looking forward to see more baristas all over India. Before we wrap up this interaction, I want to have a rapid chat with you. I'll be throwing questions at you, and you have to just catch them and answer them quickly. Yeah. So my first question is: if not in retail or not running a cafe chain like Barista, what else you would have been doing then?
I think my DNA skill set is to look at being somewhere in a strategic role, and if I would not have been in retail, I see myself to be a good full in a strategic role in terms of looking at creating opportunities and newer business opportunities, and that is something which I was good at over the initial 10 to 12 years, and that's how the role also progressed for me. So I see myself to be a good fit in a strategic role if somebody offers me an opportunity.
So, which is your favorite retailer or the brand that you admire a lot?
I see in terms of retail, I see of late, if I were to look at some of the Indian retailers, because today there's a huge debate about make in India versus outside India. So if I were to look at some of the retail brands who have made big, some of the new aged brands which have come up, I don't want to really comment on a certain name, but some of the new age brands which have come on the fashion retail, even on the food and food side, there's a lot of good work they've been doing in terms of scaling them, right, and benchmarking them to the global standards. When you have a global brand, the process are already set because you have 100 year of legacy. When you start a brand, you have to implement all of them. So I understand the kind of detailed understanding you have to get into, the kind of work which goes into really setting up that process to really create a business opportunity. So anybody in a make in India opportunity, whoever has been able to do a fair job and has been able to scale up, I think all kudos to them in terms of the good work they've done. So I don't want to pinpoint a name. I don't want to be biased about it. But yes, if I were to look at all the good work, whoever has been able to build a sustainable business, they have done a great job.
So you are an admirer of D2C, that is. So if given a chance, will you open your own D2C brand someday? If yes, in what space?
Nothing something which I've concrete in mind, but yes, I think food is as a passion also comes to me naturally. And I think that's where in today's world, it's not only about spending those hours and creating opportunities, it's also about being passionate about what you do, right? And the 8-10 years of us spending that time, and me personally being involved in so many roles and gradually coming to the senior most role has been more to do with the passion of the work which I do. And I think if ever I have to do something, it would be in food.
People know that Rajat is a CEO of Barista, but people don't know what you do in your free time. So what do you prefer to do in your free time?
I'm a big somebody who wants to engage in sports. I kind of keep on doing a lot of sports engagement with our team. We do a lot of intercompany matches as well. So that is something which comes naturally to me. And in free time, movies is something which keeps me occupied at home.
Which movie? Which is your favorite movie, and what have you learned from that?
See, last which I saw, if I were to look at, really were to look at creating a team bonding opportunity, Lagan is one thing, something which comes naturally to me in terms of creating a team opportunity, because I have been somebody who wants to make a collaborative team effort rather than creating a single out effort in terms of creating an opportunity. So collaboration, which is something which comes naturally to me. So I think Lagan is something I would say that is a complete a movie which showcases how a collaborative approach yield and kind of create a distinct opportunity for you.
And last question is one quality of yours which you want other retailers to learn from you.
I think what we have been able to do is that if I were to give a bit of a history, that this business never made money, and we are, as I said, that we are the only profitable coffee shop in the industry today, right? So we've been able to transform and turn around a business which never made money. So there is a huge opportunity in terms of if you were to really deep dive into what you want to do and have that ambition that you have to create an opportunity, you can definitely do that. So my advice always is to build a sustainable business which can stand on its own. It's very easy to really kind of put in money and really after 5 years realize it's not kind of yielding any opportunity. So it's all about building a sustainable business. Sustainable businesses will never become sustainable overnight. There's a lot of hard work which has to go into those, and I think that's my advice to all the viewers who are seeing the show.
Thank you so much, Rajat. It was a very insightful interview and I loved each and every bit of it. I hope you guys will also enjoy the way I enjoyed conducting it. I'll see you again next week with a new retailer, a new story. Till then, bye-bye.